Now after this we're gonna have the blue part of the title. So as we can remember, and let's see the PDF one more time. So this is a presentation of the page that we're building. As you can see, we have a three-part title. So the first part is a welcome to, the second part is the hour in blue label, and the third part is the app part. This is the first part. After this, but inside here, we're gonna have a span. Let's place this right here and this on the next line. So right here we're gonna have a span like this with a class of blue label from global, and inside here we're gonna have another tag like this. So let's copy this and let's paste it right here. Simply it's gonna be the part 2. And lastly, we're gonna have the remaining part, the part 3, after this span right here, and it's gonna be the part 3 simply. So the title is complete. Now after this row, we can continue with the subtitle. We're gonna have another row, like of course we're gonna have again the width of 100 and the margin top of 5 pixels, like this. And inside here we're gonna have a 9 label like this, with a class of label title, label subtitle welcome, like this. And let's define our text, of course the translate pipe, and right here we're gonna have the label subtitle like this, but not like this, but let's also copy this right here, and let's see in the enjson file. So it is simply the subtitle. Let's copy this and let's place it right here. So this is the subtitle of our page with the translate pipe. So now let's continue and define the welcome image. So after this row right here, so the title and the subtitle, but let's remove also this space right here, it's not needed. Okay, so after this row we're going to have of course the welcome image, and let's define again a div as we already seen with a class of master schema div, and inside here we're gonna have an img tag. So img with the source of assets, images, and then welcome, and then of course the welcome-svg file like this, with the class of master schema div like this. Oh, not master schema div, so excuse me, the master schema image. And now with this, the left side component is completed, and we can serve again the project, and let's see the beautiful result that we are going to have. This takes a moment to build, and it is built, and let's see the result, and here it is. So this is the left part of our component and the general presentation. So this is right here, and as we can see, we can raise the screen width, and if we go after below the 1000 pixels, you can see it is vanished. So we're gonna fix this with a different approach of the presentation in the later part of this episode. So at this moment we have successfully completed the left side component, and we can continue to the right side component with the user form, the email, the full name, the profile image, and the sk-tel-input. So let's close this and let's continue with the right side component. Now let's continue with the right side component. So let's close all this, and now let's navigate to the right side component ts file. So again, we're gonna have the screen necessary fields. So let's quickly grab them from the start page like this, and let's bring them to the right side component. Let's fix this import, and now on the ng-on-init method right here, we're gonna have to set up the screen size like this. We're gonna have two methods. It's gonna be the nav sign-in method that it's going to react to the sign-in label, as you can remember if you are already registered. So right here, this method handles the navigation to the sign-in page. Simply, we're gonna have a boolean argument, so is to sign in, like this. So it's going to be of type boolean, and we're going to check if this is true. Simply going to have, but first let's also define the helper. So a public helper, it's going to be the helper service in order to check the contents of these the variable right here. So helper dot check undefined null with is to sign in, and of course if the sign in is true. So if this control is true, then you can continue and implement your function right here. So we're not going to write anything more. So lastly, let's define the other method. So this is going to be the register user. So this method is going to be triggered on the register button when the user clicks it. We're going to have an argument of type user information interface. Now let's also create a directory that's going to be called interfaces that will hold all the interfaces of our project. So right here we're going to have the user information interface. So let's define it right here. So user information, like this. This is the interface for the user information. So we're going to have an export interface user information, and let's define it. First we're going to have the profile image of type string. We're going to have a full name of type string. We're going to have an email like this, a mobile, and a mobile prefix for the prefix for the country, for the selected country, like this. This is completed. So this is the interface for the user information. Let me say right here that the profile image is gonna hold the base 64 data of the selected file of the image. Let's continue now. So let's define right here the argument for the register user method. So user info provided, like this, is gonna be of type user information, like this. Let's define also a useful comment. So let's also correct the method word. So this method, and again, we simply gonna console the received data. So console the received data, and we're gonna use the helper method. So console handler user information, like this, the user info provided, like this. So again, we're not going to write anything more in this method. You can add your functionality and perhaps an API, a loader, and anything you like. So with this, the right side component TS is completed. And now let's quickly navigate to the CSS of the right side component. So the CSS for this component is going to be this right here. So as you can see, we're going to have a grid, the right side master grid, with a padding of 15 pixels and a max width of 700 pixels, and two labels as we can remember from the left side component. We're going to have the label title welcome and the label subtitle welcome, like this. So let's continue and let's define the HTML of the right side component. We do not need these right here. So we're going to have an iron grid like this, and the class of course of right side master grid. Let's place a useful comment right here. So let's define a row right here. So we're gonna have a row of class width 100, and this is gonna be visible only if the screen width is lower or equal to 1000 pixels, like this. So we're gonna have an iron column, and inside here we're gonna have two rows. So a row of class width 100 and a label, of course, like this. So at this moment, let's quickly erase this and let's navigate to the left side, and let's quickly grab these rows right here because they're practically exactly the same. So inside we can erase also the row right here, and we can simply place these as they are exactly the same. So we do not need to do any changes right here. We have the iron label, the span, and the second row with the subtitle. So now we can define the title of the component, the white box. So it is this right here. So we're gonna define the your information title, and we can continue then with the white box and all the functionality. So let's continue to the side, the right side component. So right here we're gonna have the title. So we're gonna have again a 9 row and a 9 column, and inside here we're gonna have a 9 label, or excuse me, a 9 row like this with class of 100 width like this, and then we're gonna have a 9 label like this. So a 9 label with the classes of gray subtitle label and a bold text like this, and inside here we're gonna have the texts for this label like this, and it's gonna be the start page dot right side, and lastly your information like this. So this is gonna be the tags of the text. So this is gonna be the title, and lastly for the right side component we can simply write the white box user info component. So white box user info like this, and then we can define it. So app user info like this. We can simply place this right here, but we can later on in this episode we're gonna return in this spot right here and implement and add some functionality for the outputs of this component. Now let's navigate to the user info component. So we're gonna have this right here. So the user info component. So in this component right here we're gonna have a pretty much of functionality. So let's begin. Let's begin by writing the outputs.